Come in. Here we're standing in front of Mount Moriah Baptist Church. This is in Freemanville, one of the oldest settlements in this area, dating all the way back to the Civil War. And it was founded by black abolitionists who served in the Civil War. And all the history in this area is kind of disappearing. So today we're going to try to preserve it and share it with you. We're here at the corner of Valley Street and Orange Avenue in Port Orange, Florida. This place was formerly known as Freemanville. It was the oldest settlement in the state and definitely the oldest settlement founded by all black soldiers in the Civil War. Right here is the main road of that settlement. Now it's called Valley Street. It's unconfirmed what they called it back then. There's only one remaining map and it's hand-drawn from memory, so who knows how accurate that actually is. But we're here to do some history digging and learning about the area to share with you, to try to preserve the history on the internet. It's one of the best ways that we can do it. And even archaeologists out there, they can't serve everyone, they can't serve every job. So it's up to hobbyists like us who are really interested in history and archaeology to preserve stuff like this, because right there in those woods is a grave site that another hobbyist happened to find in records, and we can't confirm whether or not it's actually back there, but we're going to do some detective work to see if we could find any traces of that site. We're going to go around the area again to preserve the history of Freemanville and talk a little bit more about it as we go. So we're going to jump in the car and drive around. We're going to check out the woods and share it with you and try to preserve this history. Let's get into it. There's actually a trail back here. We might need to go check it out. So this is some land that's private, and it's the site where there's supposed to be a burial ground for the soldiers. It's raining right now, so I might have to make this a part 2 video. We're gonna kind of cut into these woods just to see what we could see. And apparently, again, this is an area that's supposed to have a burial ground. There is definitely some sort of camp back here. I'm just trying to get an idea of the landscape back here. Again, I'm not going to go back further in the woods because you could see a clear trail if you just check it out that way. There's most likely homeless people living back here because that's what happens in very dense wooded areas like this. And one of the biggest stipulations right now about this piece of land is the fact that the owner of the land can't really build on it if buried remains are found. So even if you're trying to sell it, it's a very hard sell to a commercial real estate sort of broker, because the fact that the city knows that there is potential remains back here, it could kind of create this political turmoil. And you know, that's why this piece of land is still vacant and empty and overgrown like this, because you know, it's really hard to control something like this. It actually looks like there's been some controlled fires back here that they've maybe tried to bring back the brush, and it's all you could do really with this land. I'd like to go back there, and I might myself, but not with camera girl here. We're just gonna have to come back to this spot, maybe do some more research, maybe call up the landowner and see if I could get back here and do some clearing to try to find the site. But we're gonna go find some other sites in the area and check out the old church, and then also check out the railroad tracks just across the way. There's a condom on the ground right there. Like I said, I didn't do a ton of reconnaissance for this. I just know that this is in the area. We're in like an industrial park area. Freemanville it just needs to be preserved by somebody who has the resources to do the research and film and share, and that's what I'm doing here. So we're gonna keep on doing some searching and hunting. Hopefully we can find something cool to share with you. Oh wow, so I was just leaving this area and you could actually see, I might have just found a cool clue here. We're gonna cut to the real camera so you can actually see it, but This tree here is not native to this surrounding. You can see all these palm trees in the area. Right behind me we have an artifact of the past. There is a cedar tree here, and the settlers would actually mark graves with cedar trees, and this is a pretty young one, but it still has some age. I'm wondering if it could have been tied to the gravestone or the graveyard here at Freemanville. This is a pretty young tree, but there's probably more back there in the woods, so if we just trudge around back there we might be able to find one. If we found one that was a little bit bigger and girthier, who knows, it could be marking a gravestone of a Civil War soldier, but we can't know for sure unless we use GPR, which is known as ground penetrating radar, and right now I don't have that ability, but maybe in the future I will. So for now all we could do is continue this lore and try to continue the history by sharing stories like this about grave sites that are marked with this style tree, and just continue believing, because that's really what it takes right now, because you can see how dilapidated the area is back there, and there's no archaeologists who are going to try to recover this history. It's kind of being lost in the past, and that's why we're here to try to record it and save it on YouTube. So this is going to be the spot right here. So right here behind this little area is actually one of the oldest buildings in Freemanville, and I'm actually going to stop and record some of this because there's some old history tied to the Spanish and even the British here. There's some canals back here that were dug back in that period, so we're going to go check those out as well. I don't want to stand in their yard either. We'll just do it like right here. We got to be in a right of way anyways. I think can you see the building behind me?
Yeah, but move over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right behind me is the Mount Moriah Baptist Church. It's the oldest building in this area, the last building of the Freemanville settlement. And we're gonna go try to find some history attached to it. We can't really go on the property. I don't want to be up in their business, but you can see it from here. We're gonna go to the other side of the street. But before that, we're gonna check out this canal that's connecting the intercoastal with the Dunlawton sugar mill. It's part of this other historic site that we'll probably get to, but it's over this way, and I have a feeling it fed a lot of these areas with obviously water and fish, so we gotta walk this way and check it out ourselves. Wow, you could tell that this canal is old too, just by the way that the banks are. Like, look at the embankment on it. So right there is the oldest church in the area, and behind it is actually a canal running east and west, and it goes that way as well. This is what they called the Spanish Canal, and it dates back to the Second Seminole War. But this canal actually fed a sugar mill ruin, or a sugar mill, back in the 1800s, and it's part of a site that we'll go check out another day. But we could go check out this canal and see how deep it is, and how narrow it is. It's a lot smaller than today's canals. You could see that it's like cutting straight down, and it's backing right up to the church here. Probably helped with the community and serving a purpose, bringing in fish and everything else from the intercoastal. But that's it for this area. We're gonna go check out one more thing behind the church, and hopefully do some more history preservation on the way. So in this picture you could see a rusty old pump, and that's one of the last things that could be found tracing back to the settlement, and we're going to go try to find it based on this photo. And I can't promise anything, but it's probably just on the edge of the woods here. It's probably not really deep in the woods if somebody took a picture like this. So hopefully it'll be somewhat simple to find, and I think it's right over there somewhere. All right, so that's a wrap on Freemanville. If you want to see more videos like this or support this channel, then just do all those YouTube things, and we'll be posting more historic preservation videos and doing some more traveling, and just keep recording, it's fine. All right, so that's a wrap on the Freemanville settlement. If you want to support this channel, just go ahead. All right, that's a wrap on the Freemanville settlement. If you want to support videos like this and support this channel, then just do all the YouTube stuff that YouTube wants you to do. And we'll be doing more historic preservation, site finds, and other research. Are you still recording? You shifted a bit. Are you good? All right, that's a wrap on Freemanville. All right, that's a wrap on the Freemanville settlement. If you want to see more videos like this and support this channel, then just do what you got to do to share this video and like it. We're going to be doing historic preservation videos, checking out sites in the area, and doing more research and sharing them with you so we could preserve history the best that we can as hobby archaeologists and hobby historians. Actually, funny story, this site that we're at right now, it's an abandoned lot, and right behind me here you can see the intercoastal, and that big open empty lot used to be a bowling alley that no longer exists back in the heyday when people used to bowl, and actually I think there was a rolling skate ring there too. So that's the end of this video. We'll see you on Freemanville, not only a play on words and action, but the settlement that survived. Today I'll take you through recorded history, stories passed down, and physical remains of one of the oldest black settlements in the Free Nation. I'll be sourcing material from local newspaper articles via the News Journal and Orlando Sentinel, fellow historians Denny Bowden and the Volusiahistory blog, and instructors and professors from Daytona State College and Bethune-Cookman University. Also some information from the city of Port Orange. There may be some I didn't list, but sources will be copied in the description below. Let's get into it by listening to this direct quote from Kent Donahue, whom at the time was the city spokesman for Port Orange. Port Orange was established in 1866 by 500 free slaves from South Carolina, many of whom had fought in the Civil War as soldiers in the United States Colored Army. And you'll want to remember this because we'll discuss a little bit more later on in the video about the origins of this troop and where they might have stemmed from. So we'll get to that later on. This group was promised in deeded land in what is now Port Orange, Florida, and many were hired by the Florida Land and Lumber Co., an outfit formed by Union Army Surgeon Dr. John Milton Hawks and other officers. The company's formation led to the creation of the city in 1867. Now, I want to make it clear that Port Orange and Freemanville were once different settlements, but are now one and the same. It would be considered an annex section within Port Orange. Remnants of Freemanville can be found on Google Maps, but even within the Port Orange GIS, the name Freemanville is hard to find. This is something I have an issue with due to the historic significance. But in the area of Freemanville, if you're ever near Port Orange, you will find a plaque on the side of what used to be called the Dixie Highway, now just US 1. It's just north of Dunlawton, next to a major park on the intercoastal side. These two settlements were established because one another. The Florida Land and Lumber Mill was established in Port Orange at a location now known as Ponce Inlet, formerly known as the Mosquito Inlet. The downfall of this lumber mill was the reason Freemanville survived. Some of the free men that were brought down from South Carolina and potentially even New York, if you've ever heard of Hart Island, they left the failing lumber mill and moved inland to what we now know as Freemanville. Lumpel indicates that vital equipment was lost and Hawks' sawmill business was too big to be profitable and soon failed. In addition, the assistance from the Freedmen's Bureau was inadequate, so the majority of the workers moved away or to the Port Orange mainland to form their own community. Of the approximate 1,500 blacks who had come, only 142 adults remained by 1867, and they supported themselves with farming, fishing, and working in orange groves of others. Hawks' book, East Coast of Florida, says 5 or 6 families were still living in the area, and local historian Harold Cardwell has added, what made the settlement survive was that they were able to find work in orange groves. As with most history, stories are passed by word of mouth, and nothing like lost treasure to really spark interest in a story. Freemanville survived because of the failure of a prominent sawmill in Port Orange. The failure of the sawmill enterprise was dramatically recalled by Joe Vedder, a local history reenactor at a May 2007 presentation touring local history. He said that when a boat carrying equipment and funding for the sawmill sank in 1866, thousands of 1866 silver dollars went to the bottom with the ship. Note that there are also stories of the treasurer running off with the company's funds. So those are just small intricacies in the story that are passed by word of mouth. The early black colonists endured adapting to the land as well as they could. Houses were made of palmetto thatch and other readily available materials from the surrounding environment. The colonists obtained food by hunting and fishing the rich local estuaries, collecting oysters, clams, and trading with nearby settlements. The original generation of families that made up Freemanville continued to live in this area up to as late as the 1950s, but not having put any deeper research into this, can't confirm the exact time period at which all original families that could tie back to the origin of Freemanville were gone, those like Thaddeus Gooden and John Tolliver. What I do know is that Alberta McLeod may have been the last recent connection to this settlement. Moving there sometime around the 1940s, she would have experienced life far different than most of us can imagine. Even the last and oldest building, Mount Moriah Baptist Church, is not entirely original. It was built in 1911, but rebuilt in the 1950s. To be honest, this entire story was in part inspired by searching for an artifact that could tangibly connect me to the original Freemanville. But alas, that artifact of Freemanville has been removed, with the exception of the church, of course. Denny Bowden posted about this artifact back in 2013, and now it's no longer here. I could turn back time through Google Maps and see the wooded lot that this old water pump used to be located. It would bring water supply to the original settlers of Freemanville. Now it's leveled and a new house sits in its place. I would imagine that this pump is now in a museum somewhere, but no articles could confirm this. With the condition that Mount Moriah Baptist Church is in, I could only imagine this connection to the original Freemanville will only last one more generation. If you know of any ways to preserve this history, please reach out.